up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Meg, and today we're doing a Bachelor Talks for season 22 with Arie. Alright, you guys, so I'm starting a new series on my channel called Bachelor Talks. Basically, I'm going to be recapping the Bachelor, Bachelorette, possibly Bachelor in Paradise episodes on my channel because I think it's fun to discuss and talk about. I know that there's a lot of people out there that watch the show, so I thought it would be something interactive for us to do. So feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions about the show in the comments below. I want a discussion going down there. So today I'm going to recap the first 4 episodes of the season, so we have a lot of information to go off of, and I plan on doing a recap of every episode or maybe every 2 episodes. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on my future videos. Was anybody else slightly disappointed when they found out that Arie was going to be the Bachelor? I was just kind of shocked because, of course, the franchise has a pattern of picking people that have already been on the show, but because he was on the show 5 years ago, I thought it was a little bit odd. I was hoping to have someone maybe more recent in there. I feel like it's harder to care about someone that hasn't been on the show in 5 years than someone that was on there versus 1 or 2 seasons ago. So I thought that was an interesting choice. And then I was just also surprised because this whole season is just, it seems to be all about age, but it's just interesting because he's 36, I believe, and most of the time on the show when they cast girls, they're in their early, anywhere from their early 20s to mid 20s to late 20s. So I just thought it was an interesting choice since that's typically how they cast the show, and I was interested to see how different age gaps might play in together with his decision making. By the way, I'm all Britney'd out here. I have my cup on my shirt. Oh my gosh. So I just finished watching episode 4. I'm a few days behind, but I'm in my comfy clothes doing this because it is just a hangout sesh. But anyways, I'm going to briefly go over episode 1. Alright, so I'm never really a huge fan of the first episode. I feel like it's TMI, there's so much going on, so many new girls that it's just almost pointless because so many of them go home right away, and I just find it a bit overwhelming, and everyone's always trying to outdo each other with their intros, and I feel like no one's really themselves, so I'm never super invested in. Half the time I don't even watch the first episode, to be honest. And I just also think that the first episode's so cheesy because they act like they're all best friends with each other. When they bring in the former contestants, that's their friends and gives them advice, and I'm just it was just so cringy watching him sit with Sean and Catherine. I don't know what it was. I wasn't digging it, and that's just kind of the vibe I've been getting all season so far, is a bunch of cheesiness. So off the bat, they're already trying to put a villain in front of us on the first episode, and that target was Chelsea. I didn't think that she was going to be the villain. I just feel like they always do this where they're not sure, or they want to mislead you to keep you watching and to keep things interesting. So I knew she probably wasn't going to be the villain. And a lot of girls hated on her because she went back after getting a rose to get more time, but at the end of the day, that's what you guys are there for. You guys are there to compete for time, to get your name out there. Yes, she's safe, but I mean, it also doesn't hurt, right? So what are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think it was messed up that she went back to get more time with him after receiving a rose? This all is going to be interesting when it comes into play in a minute. And I also thought that they were doing such an emphasis on Crystal in the beginning to make her seem like this sweet girl. She goes out and cares for the homeless. She's a fitness instructor. She's just perfect. It just seemed too good to be true to me. I wasn't really buying it. I just felt like they were really pushing on her being a nice girl. My standout favorites from the first episode were Tia and Annalise. And I thought that Annalise would have gotten the first impression rose, but it turns out that Chelsea had the right way of thinking of just attack, 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 make out, does get the rose with Arie. So that's all my thoughts on episode 1. Moving on to episode 2. Oh my gosh, Becca K's date. I was so, like, I was sitting on my couch so jealous of this date. I can't imagine, like, being in the house and how the other girls felt when she came home with all the stuff. Like, talk about setting the bar high for dates. He takes her out. He has her meet Rachel Zoe. She gets designer pieces, like multiple pieces from Rachel Zoe. He then gifts her Louis Vuitton shoes, and then to top it off, because you know we got to keep Neil Lane relevant even early on in the game, he gifts her with a diamond necklace and 2 pairs of earrings. Oh my gosh, I was so envious. Like, that is a date like you don't forget. But then I thought it was just so over the top, because then I'm just like, is this like a regular thing? Like, is this how you treat women? Like, every like couple of years, whatever, you're just gonna go all out? Or is it like a one-time thing? It was just so extravagant. So one person that stood out to me this episode was Bibiana, because she is feisty and she is not afraid to speak her mind. If you do something, don't mind my dog. She gets excited about The Bachelor too. But yeah, Bibiana, she was just always so feisty, ready to speak her mind. She doesn't like stand down to anyone. She will tell you what is up if you do something that she thinks is wrong. And I really like that, because it also shows that she's determined and that she knows what she wants. And then again, I felt with Crystal, like it was just trying too hard to be the favorite. Like, she was just, there was just something that irked me from the beginning, just like the way she talks and her voice. Like when Arie said that her voice was soothing, it just made me want to gag, because I thought that her voice sounded so like disingenuous and fake. I don't know, like there's just something about her that rubbed me the wrong way. And then I also found it interesting that Crystal went and stole more time after she got the rose. And I also thought it was hilarious that she was discussing this with Chelsea, who like from the last time did the same thing, and everyone was pissed about it. And then she told Crystal, yeah, no, totally, it's fine. Like, was that sarcastic? Was she trying to set her up for failure to get the other girls to not like her? I don't know, but I thought it was funny. And then the highlight of the show, I think, for drama was when Crystal decided to make the mistake of interrupting Bibiana's time with Arie, and that whole confrontation and the mic drop thing, like that just set a mood for everyone to know to not mess with her. And I think that this is like the true turning point where the girls were just starting to like be sick of Crystal and like they're like over her. So that is all that I have for episode 2. Now it's time for episode 3. Alright, so episode 3, I have a lot of thoughts. As I'm watching the episodes, I'm like jotting down notes so I don't forget to mention something. But I think that they just could have titled this episode like awkward because it was all of the awkwardness in one episode. There were so many cringy parts. Like, first of all, if I was on this wrestling date, like if I was on the show and I got picked on that wrestling date, I'd be pissed, because that's just, I'll get into that in the moment, but it was just so cringy, like, and cheesy, again, cheesy. Watching Arie come out, like, as a kissing bandit, ooh, and it, like, I get, like, it's supposed to be, like, a gimmick and cheesy and, like, corny, but it was just, it was too much for me to handle. And I wasn't a fan of like the glow wrestlers. Like, I get like they're trying to be like, yeah, like you got to get into it, act, act, act. And then it just, you have girls that are taking it personally. So like maybe take a break and break your character of acting like a badass to be like, listen, it's part of the act. Like, just go along with it. I don't know. I would have been pissed if I was on that group date, because it's like, you literally want me to fight for your love. It's just so like show offish, like, ooh, look at me. Like, I'm like, I get it's a competition, but I didn't, like, I just almost, not that it was degrading, I wasn't a fan of that date. Oh, here's something that I wrote down. It says like, it's like the wrestling date was all about finding the right woman. So it's like, a wrestling tournament is going to determine to you who the right woman for you is. Like, having people literally fight over you. Like, I know I'm taking it to like a level that it's not supposed to be at, but that's just where my mind went, and I was just not about it. And here in the wrestling episode, like in this wrestling group date, is where I felt like they were really trying to paint Crystal as the bad guy. Like this is just where it all went down and it just like completely flipped. Like everyone is out to get Crystal. So on the group date, Bibiana walked up to Arie to like talk about Crystal and how annoying she is. And I was just sitting there on my couch like, no, because we all know that's the downfall. Like if you want to get eliminated from the show, you go to whoever the Bachelor or Bachelorette is and you bitch about another contestant, because that is a surefire way to get your ass eliminated. And it was her downfall. Like she couldn't sit there and like swallow it and just like try to erase it from her mind and concentrate on Arie, which I get, like Crystal's like annoying, but I felt like her approach to him could have been better, and if it was, she might have had a different outcome with that conversation. You could just tell he was annoyed with it. And then also at the same time, Crystal is like also happy throughout the episode until attention isn't on her, and then she's just another 180, like just complete shutdown, wham, wham, wham. And then in this episode, I feel like Becca M, the young one with the short hair, I feel like this episode really showcased her as a possible front runner for the show. So now we're gonna move on to the one-on-one date with Lauren, and I felt so bad for her. I think we've all been there on those dates before where it's awkward, and then you're literally at a wine tasting, so of course you're gonna be drinking to try to make things like more comfortable, and it just wasn't happening for her, and I just felt so bad that she has such an awkward date. And I do have to give Lauren props because she totally owned up to it. She's like, hey man, like I don't know what it is, but I'm like not in the zone today. I'm just not feeling it. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough for Arie to be like, okay, like let's do a do-over. He was like set on sending her home. So unfortunately, now she is gone. So there's a second group date in this episode, and poor Annalise, because in the previous episode, I even talked about it, the group date was like the bumper cars and she had like a traumatic experience from that, and then now it's a date involving dogs, which like my ideal date. I would love to go play with dogs. But now she has two traumatizing experiences in a row because she had a traumatizing experience with a dog. And by the way, like the reenactment of her getting bit by a dog, I didn't like that ABC Family did that. I thought it was like, again, it was corny, but it was also like, why? I don't know. And then in this episode, I noticed that Chelsea, like who they were trying to paint as the villain in the previous episodes, kind of like mellowed out and chilled out because attention wasn't on her, because girls weren't coming at her for getting like a rose or anything like that. And I felt like she was definitely more relaxed and comfortable. And I don't think that we have to worry about seeing her as a villain yet. And then back to Annalise, I feel so bad for her. Like, you can even tell when she went to go talk to Arie, he was just over it. Like, this girl has such bad luck. 2 traumatic dates, and then the guy that you're trying to win over won't even look at you while you're talking to him. My heart went out to her. And then to top it off, after they were done talking, because the whole thing was with Annalise was that she didn't get a chance to kiss Arie yet. So he was like, no, I'm not feeling it. And then Chelsea comes over and they just start making out. Like that was like the wildest thing to me, that he was just so like disinterested in like, I don't want to kiss you. And then another girl comes over and then like he was all over her, and it was just, oh, I felt so bad for her. My heart went out to her. And then of course on this date, Chelsea got another rose. So she seems to be doing pretty well in the competition, but I don't see her as a front runner at the moment. I can see her as a front runner like down the line as like girls start dwindling away. I think right now Arie's connection with her is just more physical, and then I think once they open up and actually stop making out and talk to each other, it will get deeper. And then at least with Annalise, she has like a good feeling that she's going home. And then we find out later on in the rose ceremony, she goes to talk to him about it, like what's going on, and he just isn't happening, and he sends her on her way. Poor girl. I hope she comes back for Bachelor in Paradise, because she definitely deserves a do-over. So earlier I talked about how Bibiana kind of put a foot in her mouth with the whole Crystal thing, and she was totally trying to make up for it and connect to Arie on a different level to show him like, I'm just not here to complain about other girls. So she set up this really sweet and romantic like stargazing thing, And I can't imagine how it felt to set something like that up, to have that idea, and then for other girls to use it. Like, you walk out, you see another girl, like he was literally making out with someone, and you walk up like, and he's like, oh, just a minute. And then we see him bring over 2 other girls to the same setup. So it's just like, wow, what a great idea that you had. And the sad part is that she didn't even get to take credit of it before she was sent home. But I have a feeling she'll be back. I can totally see them casting her on Bachelor in Paradise. So episode 4, this one I don't have as many thoughts on, so I'll be able to wrap it up rather quickly for you guys. I thought that the date in Tahoe with Cian was just your typical bachelor date. That's like what everyone wants out of the show. And they went parasailing, the concert. Like, normally I think dates like that are like so like cheesy and cringy, but that one I actually enjoyed it. And I think it's because Cian is such a wonderful woman and she's inspiring, and I think that she was a perfect fit for that date. And then, of course, it was sad when Mikkel's grandfather passed away, so no one knows if she's going to be coming back or not. I mean, I wouldn't blame her if she didn't come back. My lighting is making my face look so weird. I feel like my contour is like sticking out like a sore thumb. But anyways, this is the episode where we start to see Crystal crack. And it was rather annoying because I think that Crystal's annoying, but she was just obnoxious the entire episode. She literally thinks that she's better than everybody else there on the show. And then other girls getting into the group date to her, for her to sit there and say that they're being desperate because they're into what they're doing. Like, it just, Crystal made herself look really terrible in this entire episode. So this is another thing about Arie that bothers me, because like I kind of question him being genuine about the whole thing, because he keeps saying that he hasn't fallen in love once since he was on the show and he can only fall in love on the show. And it's like, well, why is that? Why are you not able to make connections in real life? Like, The Bachelor works because they speed everything up, and like you get these grand romantic gestures constantly for like what, 3 to 4 months that the show is filming. So yeah, it's so easy to fall in love, and of course that's going to be like a special, unique feeling. And once you go back to real life isn't going on all these dates and traveling every week. So that just like made me question him and his motives. Like, is he really going to be happy after the show? Is he really going to find what he was looking for? I mean, I hope he does, but I just found that interesting, and it like keeps getting brought up. And then the survival date, like I thought it was cringy. Like, I can't believe like they were actually eating worms and bugs. Good for them, but I wouldn't do it. I'm like not trying to get sick or like have a parasite or something inside of me, but props to them for doing it. And props to, I don't remember who it was, but she was actually gonna drink her own pee. Like, that's amazing. Now let's talk about the whole hot spring situation. Crystal's there, and of course she's cozying up to Arie, and then Tia and Caroline are across from her, and then like they just put their arms around each other, like kind of like laughing, like haha. You know, I think they were just doing it like, really, you're gonna do that in front of us? Like, there's other girls here. Like, they were just making a joke out of it. And then for Crystal to sit there and say like, oh, they were making faces at me the whole time, they were being mean. I mean, we don't see every minute of the show, but from what we saw in the show, I didn't see either of them making faces at Crystal. I think she's just becoming paranoid, and she's just saying that all these other girls are desperate, but the fact of the matter is her desperateness is showing so bad in this episode, more and more as the episode goes on. Another thing with Crystal I'm going to touch on is that her tears were totally fake when she was crying to Arie about Tia and Caroline being mean to her. I'm sorry, but like if she was actually truly crying and upset, like you would be like she would be sniffling. She would have more emotion on her face. She was just very like blank, and then like tears just streaming down her face. It was just very weird and almost robotic to me. And then for him to sit there and just buy into it, it's just like, I know that the shows are edited a certain way, but at the same time, it's like, how do you not see past what this person is putting out in front of you. Then the big controversy of the episode was Becca's date with Arie. She reveals that she's 22 years old. I think like the internet has its own opinion, which is fine, but in my mind, like it shouldn't really matter how old you are, and we shouldn't be like age shaming people or whatever. But I did get Arie's point on the show, because we can all think back to a time like when I was 21, where I was 22, and like how different I am now. Like, I do believe that you grow so much as a person throughout your 20s. But I also feel like Becca is kind of one of those people that's an exception, because she's so, like, she does have an old soul, and she's way different than any 22-year-old most of us know. But I do understand Arie's point of him having that concern of her not wanting marriage at the end of this, or changing her mind 5 years down the line. I totally get that concern. And you could just tell how infatuated he is with her, because if it was someone else, they totally would have been sent home on that date. But I also feel like he's shutting himself off from her, which is like sad, because I feel like she'll eventually end up going home. And I feel like if she was older, I could totally see them ending up together at the end, but I just feel like he's closing himself off to her, so I'm not sure how this is going to go moving forward. So instead of doing a cocktail party, they cut straight to the rose ceremony, which of course had Crystal in a panic. And, you know, everybody else is desperate, but she was freaking out, not because she's desperate. I just thought it was really rude of her, because they said, you know, he already made his decision, nothing's gonna change his mind. And then of course she goes, can I please have a moment of your time? And then like is basically like, I'm not here to play games. And it's like, girl, you've been playing games the whole damn time. Like, what is your issue here? And you could just tell, like, she just came off so conniving the entire episode. And then we find out that she gets a rose, so she'll be back another week. Although according to the previews, it looks like she might not be sticking around that much longer. And then it also looks like Chelsea and Tia are getting one-on-one dates, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch them, because I do like both of those girls. And I do hope we see more of Sienna in the next episode as well, because I really like her too. So that wraps it up. I know that this was a super, super long video, but I was trying to cram 4 episodes in. The next one should only be 1 or 2 episodes tops. So if you have any comments about any of the 4 episodes or anything that's happened, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up if you like this series. Subscribe so you don't miss out, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.